welcome to the program. You've done such extensive series of investigations here. Did it shock you when you heard Barack Obama's name dropped yesterday in the Diddy trial? That Diddy was taking Obama-shaped ecstasy pills, that Diddy's drug dealer knew Barack Obama?
I mean, look, first of all, it's great to be on with you, folks. If you don't know, this guy's very good at jumping fences and gates. I just want to make sure everybody knows this. There's footage of it. I'm sure he showed you. But let me get right into it. So, look, I'm not surprised because there's a lot of weird things going on lately. When you all of a sudden are the most popular president on the Democratic side, maybe him and Bill Clinton, and you are, you're the black Jesus for the folks on the left. They love this guy. He can't do anything wrong. Then suddenly you go to Jimmy Carter's funeral, a Democratic president that matches a lot of values like you, but your wife isn't there. Trump is there, and you're sitting right next to Trump. And then you go to the inauguration, and you're there, and your wife's not there. Then your wife starts a podcast with her brother, and they start talking about different kinds of things and, the relationship. And then now he is going and having dinner or lunch with his two daughters, and she's not there. It's just too many of these things of, them not being together. Who knows? Maybe something being released here with, his involvement, his relationship with them. Barack was a very popular, famous guy that liked to go to these types of things. And he was not only very well-known politically, but he was Hollywood, tied to Hollywood. They liked him. He liked to be around them. He liked rubbing elbows. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's something there. Hopefully you don't want to see any of that stuff taking place with a U.S. president because it's embarrassing on an international scale. You don't want a president of ours to have something like that. So I'm always leaning towards nothing coming out, but there's way too many things that are coming out right now, especially when you think about the lead prosecutor. It was supposed to be Damian Williams, who he resigns December of 2024. He says, no, I'm not going to be dealing with this case on Epstein. And he's been on the Epstein, on Diddy, and he's been on the lead prosecutor for Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and a lot of other things. And then the person that replaces the lead prosecutor to prosecute Diddy is Maureen Comey. Maureen Comey is the daughter of James Comey. James Comey, just a week ago, posted 8647. He found these beautiful shells, seashells that says 86 accidentally. Of course, he would never do such a thing. And he posts these 8647 shells, and then his daughter is the lead prosecutor for Diddy, and Diddy has all this information to other people. So look, either one of four things is going to happen. Either Diddy is going to be O.J. Simpson 2.0. He'll be free, and he'll be out there saying, I told you I never did this. This was all fake news, and he's going to go through that play. Either he's going to commit suicide, because this is typically a pattern of what happens when you have this much intel on them. Either he's going to be a Ghislaine. Well, you'll be in jail for a long time, and you have to stay quiet and can't talk to anybody, kind of like Ghislaine is right now. Nobody knows what's going on. Or he's going to go to jail for the rest of his life, and it's going to be nasty. It's going to be public embarrassing. And if that happens, you're going to have 200-300 other celebrities and politicians that'll be on that list. So the likelihood of number 4 happening is slim, because if that happens, a lot of people lose money. A lot of people lose money from concerts, next album, next movie, next this, next that. So they're probably not going to happen. It's one of these three that's going to be taking place. And it's going to be interesting to see who has more control and protection over him. He had protection when he had Ciroc, when he was dealing with Diageo and all those guys. They had protection with them for 17 years when they did business. And originally, they were selling 40,000 cases a year of Ciroc per year. They bring him in. Diddy takes it to 2 million cases sold in a year. It's like, hey, man, I'm making a lot of money. Another drink comes in. Another drink comes in. What about if we do this? Then there's a falling out. Then there's him suing them. And then he loses that protection. And there's a settlement that happens quietly behind closed doors. And a matching of that happens January of last year. Then March, sequencing comes out. Then May, you see the investigators in Miami and L.A., his home. And then Cassie negotiation. It's just very interesting on certain set of events that maybe he offended the people that protected him all along, thinking he's bigger than them, and he's not.
So it is amazing, the reckoning that's happening right now, whether it's with Epstein or with Diddy. Do you see the similarities? Your reporting has brought together some similarities for sure on this. Do you believe that Diddy was working for Intel?
Well, if you go in and see what Suge Knight said, when Suge called in from prison and we did the call together, it was 6 collect calls, 15 minutes each. He said, nobody learns a behavior like this. This is taught. So who could teach him about being an informant? Well, Diddy's father was an informant when he was working with Frank Lucas. If you've ever seen the movie American Gangster with Frank Lucas, that's played by Cuba Gooding Jr., Frank Lucas played by Denzel Washington, and Cuba Gooding Jr. played somebody else. But Frank Lucas was a guy that was a boss. He had $275 million of cash at one point. Eventually, they caught him. And the story has it that Diddy's father was an FBI informant leaking a lot of information to the FBI about these guys. So genetics, you can learn from there, right? Clive Davis, first deal he does with Diddy, according to research you could do in 1993, at 23 years old, Clive gives him $1.5 million to get his career going with his record that he started signing Biggie, signing, all these other, Little Kim, all these guys. That was with the help of Clive's $1.5 million. Some say there was something giving in return. And then obviously later on when he wrote his memoir, Clive Davis came out and said, look, this is the first time I'm ever saying this publicly. I am bisexual. I hope this makes people feel comfortable that it's okay, that you can talk about it openly. So that's Clive Davis, bisexual, that offer $1.5 million, kind of weird. Later on in 1998, Clive signs a $50 million contract, a deal that they do. You can research this on your own as well. With Diddy, $6 million, I think, was up front, $700,000 salary per year, $2 million studio that he builds from, and obviously from there, Diddy takes off. Who knows what happened behind closed doors? And even if you go back a little bit, some strange events happened when Diddy was going to school at 13 years old. At this one high school he was going to, the reverend, two people that were working there, one's name is Brady, both of them end up getting accused of raping and molesting 3 young boys. We never found out who the 3 young boys were. This is simultaneously at the same time while Diddy was going to that school. One of them ends up going to prison. I think he does 8 years, comes back, and ends up going back to a Catholic school. And the other one is like, no, I didn't do anything. He's acquitted, and then later on gets judged again for it. So again, these types of behaviors, you're going to pick it up from somebody, some kind of bad influence, somebody that taught you how to be an informant. Nobody wakes up one morning and just becomes Diddy. There's a lot of things that taught you, could be trauma, could be bad habits, and you're like, look, if this works effectively on me, I'm going to use this exact system on other people. And maybe he did.
So we now have an enormous amount of evidence that Diddy, of course, was a degenerate cuck, that he would pay these sex slaves to engage in all of this activity at his house. Do you see that we're going to get any evidence that's going to reveal a broader scheme here, that this was part of a blackmail operation? Or do you think they're going to, with Maureen Comey, which seems like PBD, it seems like the craziest conflict of interest I've ever seen in a courthouse, that her dad's calling for the assassination of Trump, yet she's allowed to continue her job at the DOJ. I can't get a straight answer from anyone from the DOJ that comes on the program about that, but man, it's very interesting. Ed Martin was on. I'm like, he didn't even know Maureen Comey worked at the DOJ, so I don't understand it. But anyway, her connection to the Epstein case, the Ghislaine Maxwell case, and now to this case, it seems like what the federal government is trying to do is put a massive lid on this. What's your reading on the trial as it's gone so far?
Well, look, it's look what happened with all the guys that said the day one, I'm going to release all the Epstein files, all the this and all the that and all the this. And then they go in and it's like, I saw the stuff. There's nothing there. He killed himself. He committed suicide. You're like, wait, what? And these are friends of ours. These are not people that we're not supportive of. We're excited for them. They do great work. But, something happens when you get a certain job at a level of clearance that the rest of the world does not have access to. We don't know. We can speculate and say what happens when you walk into that room after you get a job. There's a briefing. Let's talk about Epstein. You not got the job. This is a big job. How important is it for you to make sure America stays free as the greatest country in the world? Very. Well, guess what? There's a few things you have to do now that you have this job. You're going to get a briefing from 5 people that are going to come in. They're going to tell you exactly what intel we have and why it's important for us to make sure the story stays aligned, because we have enough inventory to hold 220 very powerful people in the world hostage. And if we don't, and we can't blackmail them, then guess what? A lot of deals are not going to get done. And one of our assets, that's another, secret intelligence agency, has also a lot of assets on this that could expose their relationship and their history, and we can't do this right now. And you need to be aligned with that. Can we count on you doing that? Yes, sir. All right, great. Here's what we need you to say to the media. I foresee a conversation like that taking place. Now, by the way, I'm not telling you that's what happened. That's one of the 3 cases, because one is what? That's exactly what happened. Epstein killed himself. Nobody believes that. Nobody believes that, right? The other one is they're coming out and, lying on behalf of the government, because that's what you're supposed to do. Let's just say for some of these guys that are going on the inside, and to them it's not lying. They're not at the level that they need to know, because if they had access to the information, they're probably going to do the same thing as well. Or number two is, you just don't have a lot of information, and they kind of showed him some stuff to confuse him. Let me bring you back to Diddy here. So the model, look at the model. Look at what the model is. So Epstein, Diddy, what is the model? If they go and they get a massive chip, I don't know how many terabytes it was, 9.5 terabytes of content that they have. What's in there? What videos is it? What footage do you have of who? And who has that? Who has seen it? Who's gone through it? Who has taken inventory of it? Who has access to it, right? What celebrities are in there? What do we know about these different people? What do we know about Leo? What do we know about, you got Bieber? What do we know about all these athletes? What do we know about LeBron? What do we know about politicians, whether it's Obama or others? What do we know about all this stuff? And what can that level of disruption be? Because if you go into the 80s, and remember what Rudy Giuliani did when he went after the mob, and a Rutgers professor gave him a way of doing it, which is the RICO law, and they go and do that, then they go after him because you couldn't directly get him, and you see 244 men walking like this arrested with handcuffs, and you're like, wait, what just happened? Who was just taken down? Are you freaking kidding me? I thought J. Edgar Hoover said there's no such thing as this is serious? This is actually happening? I never in a million years thought this was going to happen. Well, it happened, right? But that's mob New York City. It's a small little place. It's not a big, this is worldwide we're talking about. This is Hollywood industry that makes billions of dollars off of these guys. You want to take them out? We can't do that. These are annuities for us. We can't lose these as an annuity. So I just think there's a lot of weird things going on right now behind closed doors with everything that he's doing. Do I think some things are going to be leaked? Listen, if it does, you best believe behind closed doors, all the major talent agencies right now are talking about what happens if it's leaked. And the same way a lot of these big pharma, military industrial complex invest a lot of money in lobbyists, you better believe there's some kind of a lobbying going on to make sure those names are not leaked.
So the easiest way, obviously, to get rid of evidence would be to just kill it, right? And you solve the problem. Dead men tell no tales. And you said that maybe this would be an option for Diddy. Eddie Griffin, famous comedian, said Diddy's not leaving jail alive. There's no way. I know what he knows, and there's no way he's leaving jail alive. Cash and Dan made a ton of news saying that Epstein killed himself. Even Alan Dershowitz was on the program PBD yesterday, and he's like, I don't believe it. I was Epstein's lawyer, Dersh says. I don't believe it. I don't believe that he was able to. I don't think it's physically possible for this to happen. And so, you put the pieces together and you start asking, well, okay, who is the ones doing the killing? And who are the ones that are powerful enough to either create the evidence where Cash and Dan would say, okay, well, we've seen doctored evidence and this is now what we believe, or there's a level they can't get through, right, to get the real evidence. And then it goes along very nicely at the same time with Donald Trump publishing the Hillary body count video from this past weekend. And I'm sitting there going, wow, this is like the perfect show to have PBD on, because he's done excellent reporting on both of these topics. And so let's blend them all together. Donald Trump breaks the internet by posting this video, and you're maybe the only guy with deep credibility that is asked about the Clinton body count from somebody inside of the Clinton orbit, which was Anthony Weiner. And what crazy viral for this, because Anthony Weiner's response to this was to shriek and to yell and to nearly attack you in a 5-minute video. Do you think that Donald Trump's playing some chess here?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think there's more to come on this, PBD?
Well, I think here's what he's doing. I think there's a lot of winning going on right now with Donald Trump. I think 2026 is going to be the greatest year in our lifetime as an American. Let me explain to you why. June 15 is his birthday. He turns 80. July 4th is going to be America's 250-year anniversary, okay, next year. Then the World Cup is coming here. The world is going to see why America is getting the most ever FDI, foreign direct investment, into this country more than any other country ever in the world. It's going to be a magical 2026, and this is not good. Why? Because the Democrats are losing in ways they've never, ever lost before, where the person that's getting the biggest percentage of running for president is AOC, with Kamala at 4th place. The establishment has lost control of their voters. Their voters, they don't have control over them anymore. They used to think they owned the black vote. They've lost the vote they controlled all these years. They lost the black vote since, 1964, when we talk about the stories of what happened then with LBJ and, 1960 when they lost the black vote because of Barry Goldwater. They've lost that vote. They've lost the manipulation side. They don't have that control anymore. This guy's coming out saying we're going to put no tax on tips, no this, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. Are you kidding me? There's so much winning going on right now for him that is a very, very bad look for everybody on the opposite side. The concern they have is this is not going to be a 4-year run. Look at the things that Trump is doing. He talks about the Golden Dome that he's building, right? The Golden Dome. We're going to start off with $25 billion. It's going to end up costing $175 billion. Canada will also be contributing because they're getting the safety from us, because we know Canada's military expenditure is roughly 1.2%. Mexico's is 0.7%. Ours is 3.5%. Why are we giving protection to Canada without them paying in? So he is telling them, hey, you got to pay for this as well because we're protecting you. Then he's saying the Golden Dome will be ready at the end of my term. Why is he saying that? That's very, very intentional that it gets ready by the end of his term. I'm not going to go speculate anything, but it's going to be at the end of his term for a certain specific reason. So then afterwards, if it's not him, it's JD. If it's not JD, there's a long list of capable people that may run in 2028. This may be a 12-year thing that they do, just so you know that. This may be a 12-year thing. So you go to the 86-47 with Comey. So Comey wants to say 86-47? Really? Who's Comey talking to? Who's Comey close to? He's very close to Clinton's. So you put 86-47. Then you apologize. Then you want us to believe that you didn't know what 86 meant. The director of FBI doesn't know what 86 means. Yesterday, in the middle of the podcast, I type in ChatGPT, should the director of FBI know what the number 86 means? Yes, he should know as a director of FBI. He knows exactly what 86 means. And he says, no, then the book signing and all this stuff, it's a shit show for him. Then Trump sits there and says, maybe he got some intel. Again, speculation. He got some intel. He's tied to Hillary. He goes straight after Hillary to put her in her place. Hey, you keep talking shit. I'm going to keep showing this to the world and reminding everybody who you really are. Then he goes after Kamala. Then he goes after Obama. Then he edifies Biden, because you never go after a dying man. Never. The ability this man has to understand EQ, timing, and poking, and he says, I never believed that the Joe Biden that we knew would ever be for opening up the borders. We know he would never be for that. What? So now you're trying to link it back to what? AutoPen? Because you want to let the world know that somebody else was running America when Biden was not capable, because he's had this prostate cancer for 5 to 10 years. Even News Nation and MSNBC brought doctors on, and they told Morning Joe, they told News Nation, this is not a new thing. For somebody to have, prostate cancer, this probably happened 10 years ago, 5-10 years ago, and they've known about it for all these years. They just not leaked it to the public. So who was running America? Was it Jill? Was it Blinken? Who the hell was it? Let's find out who was doing all those AutoPens. How many that can be reversed? This is you have to know, this is a very embarrassing season for the left. Maybe the worst in the last 100 years. They don't want this. This is a very, very problematic season they're in right now. So I am not surprised they're doing all this stuff. But President Trump grew up in New York. He's a tough guy. He grew up in the streets with gangsters, with fighters, with manipulators, with all these other guys. He's been watching this stuff happen for many, many years, and he's handling it accordingly. He knows they're trying to take him out.
That's an incredible thread. I didn't really think about that. So you're saying that the Clinton body count video was a warning to Hillary because James Comey was then openly posting about his assassination. I've been very worried about the James Comey thing, and I've been trying to talk. We've spoken with intel experts on the program, PBD, about how there are splinter cells that operate inside of Homeland Security, Secret Service, the FBI. These splinter cells, black ops groups, their loyalties are suspect, meaning that they were hired by Comey, they were promoted by Comey, and you can't get rid of all of them, and they're allowed to carry guns around Donald Trump. This kind of stuff's really deadly serious when James Comey posts that. I mean, do you agree? I mean, it has to be taken far more seriously than some grandmother posting it in Youngstown, Ohio.
No, but they're taking it very seriously. I mean, this is a team right now that just less than a year ago, somebody tried to take them out. And we're talking 10 months ago. Somebody tried to take them out, right? I mean, this isn't a regular thing that we're talking about. There's a lot of dark things going on behind closed doors. They asked him the other day, what do you like to do for fun? He says, what kind of exercise do you do? He said, well, I used to golf a lot, but I don't golf enough anymore. Why? Because he's working every day. I'd love to know somebody say, who in America right now is working harder than a 78-year-old man that's about to turn 79 years old? Who's traveling more than him? Who's working harder than him? Who is working as hard as he is at that age, and he looks like he's got the energy of a 25-year-old. I don't know. This is not a good look. America, it's increasing the support for him. Liberals are sitting there saying, in New Jersey, the governor is a Democratic governor. That's a liberal state. That is a very liberal state. Now, the popularity and support for Trump is 2% higher than their liberal governor. How the hell does this happen? New York could flip. New York could flip red. This is a very scary season. I got a call yesterday from a few different people saying, hey, Pat, you know, what can we do for you to come back to California and run and do governor? I'm like, look, first of all, I'm not coming back to California. I'm living in Florida. I love where I'm at. But I will tell you, I cannot tell you how many people I've spoken to behind closed doors that are having other people running for office in California, formidable names that is still not yet public. Once this gets public, it's going to be very interesting. People in Hollywood that I speak to, who you know these names, who would have never, ever spoken to a guy like me watching a podcast saying, we're buying the future looks bright hat because we're no longer scared of talking about the fact that these values are ridiculous. Stephen A. Smith is talking about the fact that, you know, I'm tired of the woke culture. And right now, you know what they're going to do to him if he runs as a liberal? They're going to destroy him. The moment they realize they can't control him, they're going to destroy him. Everybody is learning the fabric of the establishment. Everybody is seeing the business model, and they're sick of it. Bernie Sanders finally had the audacity, the brass on Flagrant Podcast to say that they are the problem. Are you kidding me for Bernie Sanders who said, this is so, every day they're getting hit in the face, hit in the face, hit in the face, hit in the face, hit in the face by data, by people dropping DEI, by countries dropping DEI, every single day. The day President Trump won on November 5th, I said this. I said, today is the single worst day of Barack Obama's life. There's never been a worse day in Barack Obama's life than November 5th. Because what ended up happening is, if Trump would have lost on November 5th, Barack Obama would have been on stage and said 2016 was lucky. It was all luck that Trump won. America didn't want a Trump. America didn't want a direction that Trump wanted to go. It was so monumental that Trump won because Trump can now say 2020 was a fluke. You always wanted this. America always wanted this. We were always on the same page of common sense. No, to me, this is a magical, magical time, and we all have to stay paranoid, knowing the gamification, the manipulation is not over, because on any given day, you can see a surprise where you're like, oh my God, look what they're about to do. Stay paranoid. Stay optimistic. I'm always optimistic, but I'm always watching because the envy is always thinking about ways of taking you out.
Very quickly, yeah, speaking of that, very quickly, and in conclusion, PBD, you mentioned New York and Trump's, of course, skyrocketing popularity in that blue and liberal state. Letitia James, you're somebody who knows a lot about insurance and property. You're somebody who's a part owner of the New York Yankees. Letitia James is now changing her story, saying she accidentally listed her Virginia residence as her main address. Is she cooked? Is Letitia James going to prison?
It's just a beautiful thing to see when you accuse somebody of wrongdoings is something that you've been doing this entire time. It's going to be, this is another thing that adds to what I'm talking about, Benny. It's going to be very embarrassing. Again, if Trump doesn't win November 5th, Letitia James will go down as being right because we would have never known the truth. Obama would be known as a winner, okay? Kamala Harris would be known as the first female president, African-American, Indian, whatever you want to put it. All the woke stuff would have continued. ESG would have continued. DEI would have continued. The madness in schools would have continued. Every one of those things, the war, the division, the divisiveness in schools, the Columbia, the Harvard, all of that would have continued. It's such a bigger thing. I got 4 kids. When you think about your kids, you want your kids to have an opportunity one day to go fight for their dreams in a climate that you had because it was free market capitalism. And hey, listen, you want to go out there and do something big, you can. If Kamala would have won in 2008, November 5th, 2024, and Obama would have gotten the victory, Obama would have been the most powerful man in America still. It turned like this. And if they were in, Diddy would have been delayed. All these scandals would have been delayed. Everything would have been delayed. Trump got in. Everyone's getting exposed. It's a bad time for Democrats right now.
Letitia James, what's your over-under? You think it's going to go through?
I don't know. I mean, look, CBS is agreeing to pay President Trump somewhere between $30 to $35 million with the whole 60 minutes to the point where the president is stepping down. They're playing offense, man. They're saying, hey, you want to defamation of character, you want to make my name be a bad name, we're coming for all of you. I would not be surprised if he goes to it. But there's a weird part of the president that's also forgiving. There's a very weird part of the president that wants to move on and eliminate noise. It's very weird how this could go. Either they're going to destroy her and expose everything, or they're going to have a conversation and just kind of let her go and move on.
Well, I hope for the latter. And if you hope for a future that looks bright, please follow Patrick Bet David. Here's his X account, but also obviously Valuetainment, and his show has 7 million subs, I think, on YouTube. Here's 1.3 million great Americans who follow Patrick Bet David on X. Obviously, you already know the PBD podcast. It's always an honor to be on. And yes, we were officially a border jumper for Jumping the Fence to get to your program.
You look natural, though. You did great.
Look natural. Thank you. Natural criminal, naturally born criminal. Thank you, Patrick Bet David. Godspeed.
Take care, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
Godspeed.